Hi everybody, I just wanted to go through some of the homework questions with you guys on heminopia. So these are the answers to the questions that we had before. So question 15 is or patient 15 rather, is one of them. So this is in the visual field, it's the lower left quadrant. So lower left quadrant here and lower left quadrant here is this compiled visual field that's been affected. So if we're looking at how to trace that back, then that corresponds to this portion of the retina, and we can trace that back. It crosses over the midline, across the optic chiasm, and meets the right LGN, or the contralateral LGN. You'll also note, though, that we have this one here. Remember, it gets inverted and flipped, so it's over here, and that traces back and ends up joining. These two actually run together right up here in the optic radiations. So the most likely place for this to actually happen as far as a lesion is somewhere along in this region here in the optic radiations after the LGN. So, and then it feeds back to the cortex there. It's not likely to be in this region because that would affect it would affect the entire visual field on one side rather than just one corner. Let's take a look at an example of that. For example, in patient 16, here we have damage over on the left side of the visual field here and here. The upper and lower quadrants are affected. And so it has some sort of, it's not a complete damage to that whole area, but it's some of it. So let's take a look and see how that tracks then. These two are the portions of the retina that are actually affected. Trace it back, go back over to the right LGN. And then likewise, these two different portions of the visual field that project to the right eye, they get flipped, inverted, and they also go to the right LGN. So the most likely place for this kind of thing to actually happen then, where it's really only this particular type of part of the visual field, is when is somewhere after the optic nerves from both eyes have actually met at the optic chiasm between there and the LGN, or within the LGN itself. Afterwards, after they split on their way back to the visual cortex, that's not likely to be an area where we have that damage taking place, although it is possible. So, so these are examples of kind of what we're looking at here. Patient 30 then is a similar kind of logic here, except it's over on the right quadrant. So then we have some kind of damage maybe happening over here. So that gives you an idea. Interestingly, with patient 30, there's some macular sparing. So that can happen if there's damage to the cortex, for example, or some of that area. Sometimes the macular portion of it, because it's so highly represented and there's a lot of vascularization in that area, it can be spared relative to some of the more peripheral regions of it. So that's just an interesting aside of that effect. So, okay, that's what I was hoping you guys would be able to kind of walk through in terms of going through the heminopia types of questions that we have from this. So thank you very much, and I will pause it and stop it there.